And that song there, taking you back to 1989 from the group Alabama, Song of the South. I'm John Rawl. This is the Y'all Show, talk with a Southern accent. And here in our By the Book feature, as we have this hour up and going with talk about the Southeast, instead of Song of the South, we're going to go to Walton County, Florida, where we have Sean of the South standing by. Sean is the epitome of a Renaissance man, and I'll explain why. But first, let's welcome in Sean of the South, Sean Dietrich. Hello, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it is great to catch up with you, Sean Dietrich. And again, you can, if you don't know who this guy is, he's an author, he's a podcaster, he has a blog every day on his website, he's a barbecue judge. What am I leaving out, Sean?
America's leading hypochondriac.
Oh, how are you managing with the COVID-19?
Boy, I tell you, it's a real experience. To be honest, it's really not all that different from me in my daily life at home because I'm one of those reproachable people who is an author, so that means I spend all day at home anyway. So not a whole lot has changed for me, except we have to get our groceries delivered now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I mean, we could go into the grocery store, but they've recommended that we don't if we can at all possible not. So that's about it. Other than that, my wife and I are staying home. It's been a little tough not getting out as much,
Hmm.
but
Giving you plenty to write about, huh?
that's right. It really has. We had a book tour that was going, and we canceled that about 10 days early, and I had a bunch of about a few months worth of speaking engagements that we all canceled, and so it's been a unique position, but it also feels like a mini vacation. So.
Well, welcome in. In fact, you're, of course, right there along the Emerald Coast of Florida, which I want to ask you, Sean, as a guy who normally lives in that part of the world most of the time, is it exciting 12 months out of the year to live on the Panhandle of Florida, or does it get a little bit tedious at times?
I wish it was exciting 10 months out of the year, but most of the locals here will tell you that they hadn't been to the beach in about a decade. I mean, we don't appreciate it nearly as often as we should. But yes, it is in your. I mean, that's true what I just said, but this is also true. It's kind of in your blood, and you feel a little bit uneasy when you're not around water where you can't at least see it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so in some ways, 12 months out of the year, it's wonderful. In other ways, it's a little bit frustrating. Basically, our world has been inundated with tourism, and
Mm-hmm.
so about 6 months out of the year, we deal with traffic. It takes us about an hour to get 6 miles.
And you're probably staying away from the beach, right? You know not to
Oh
go to
yeah,
the what is it, Highway 90?
that's right, Highway 98.
98, sorry. Eight
Yeah,
digits
that's
off. Yeah, and so you're as a local there in Walton County, you know, probably head to the Funiac Springs more than any place, right?
that's right. That's you go to Phoenix Springs for a quiet style of life.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your background. And you're writing about
Sure.
this in your brand new book that's just come out, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? And a lot of people have a rough road to hoe when they're youngsters. You had one heck of a tough road to hoe with your father committing suicide and nearly killing your mother. Give us a little kind of a little sample of what your young Sean was like.
Young Sean was a nice boy. He was a little bit chubby. I was a chubby child, so there was that to contend with. And then when my father died, uh, I dropped out of school, which was a terrible decision that would kind of stick with me for the rest of my life. I was well, I wasn't quite in the seventh grade yet, so you make poor decisions when you go through trauma, and your family kind of is making a bunch of poor decisions with you. So I grew up kind of not knowing what I was. We were tossed between lives. We never really knew where we were going to get our feet on solid ground. It felt like we were always just up in the air about everything. And so that's how I grew up, with an unstable footing. And I started working when I was 14 years old, hanging drywall. I did a lot of construction work, and uh, that was kind of my life. Young Sean grew up kind of self-educating, for lack of a better word, and just trying to find his way.
Well, how did young Sean turn out?
Well, we're still waiting to find out. He's a still a nice guy. He's not as chubby as he used to be. He shot up like his mother said he would. His mother always used to say that one day he would get tall and skinny, and I never believed her. And it did happen. One day my metabolism kind of sped up, and I got much taller, much skinnier. And now I don't do construction work anymore. So that's, for me, it's been wonderful to have that kind of time to focus on the things I want to focus on, like writing and such like that. So older Sean's a good guy. His highest aspiration in life is become an old man.
Mm-hmm. And as if you're watching our y'all show on YouTube or on our Facebook page, you're seeing Sean often wears the cowboy hat, and he's got a pretty intense beard, and he's got that red hair. So you kind of strike quite a really cool look there, Sean of the South, and young Sean and old Sean.
Well, it's a long time overdue. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying so. I can't stand to see pictures of myself or videos of myself. I can't stand it.
Well, there's a lot more ugly people out there. You're not one of them. I'm not going to say you're pretty, but you're not ugly. So you're like most
Hey,
of us. You're somewhere in between.
That's right. Low cheekbones and a double, triple chin.
Well, you said you're not in construction anymore, and that's because you are doing the Sean of the South. And this is, again, you started out doing columns and writing, and you're a writing machine. You write every day. And I'm on your website, Sean of the South Show, right now, Sean, and I'm seeing, here's just a sample of some of the writing. Most of your stuff's about 500 words on your website.
Right.
And some of the recent titles, you've got Sleep Aids, and you also have We Who Is Slow. I can't wait to read that one. And The Boy Sings Again. Those are just some of the many, many, many. You're, like I said, a factory of writing. How do you have the stamina to keep on going, old Sean?
Well, you got to be a little bit mentally unstable, and I basically have a routine kind of for myself, and I follow it not because I am disciplined, but because I really don't know what else to do with my day. Now that I've fallen into this kind of life, I love writing, and I'm kind of making up for lost time, I guess. I don't always have the kind of stamina I wish I did, especially when I've got big projects I have to be working on with deadlines. But I guess I am, like I said, making up for lost time.
And one of the things we also want to point out, you've taken your ability to write and you also do some singing, and you are found throughout the Southeast. When you go across Dixie, you're not just writing, you're singing. So when did you start playing music?
That's right. I've been playing music since I was about 9 years old. My mother says she used to see me out in the lawn walking around just singing, and so she thought that was funny. And then when I started getting a little bit older, of course, everybody finds their way into church, and so I found my way singing at church before a tiny little congregation, and we did that every week. And I fell in love with music at a young age, and I learned how to play the piano by ear when I was 9 or 10, and I took up the guitar when I was a little bit older, and I had the misfortune of learning how to play the accordion too. And so I'm mediocre at all three, but I have done my share of playing in beer joints throughout the years, because down here in this part of the world, there's maybe enough people in the three county area to form two good bands. So it doesn't matter if you're good or not. Or at least it used to be this way. You had a gig playing wherever you wanted to play. So I played a lot, and I learned how to enjoy being in places my mother didn't want me in. And that's kind of my musical life in a nutshell. But nowadays we take the show on the road, and that's what we do full time. So it seems like everything I do is kind of come full circle. I get to sing a little bit and put a few people to sleep by telling a story, and so on and so forth.
I seriously doubt you put too many people to sleep. We're talking with Sean Dietrich, a.k.a. Sean of the South. This is Y'all, and the Y'all Show, our website, YALL.com. And right there, we're kind of competing with SeanOfTheSouthShow.com with great stories at y'all.com. Of course, maybe not quite as colorful as what Sean's got going on. And we're the show all about the South. And Sean, a Florida-based writer, singer, podcaster, barbecue judge, and more. And one of the things that makes him really cool is he's not just a writer or just a singer. Sean, the common thread with everything you do ties into this part of the world. You're a Southern writer, a Southern podcaster, etc., etc.
That's right. And you know, I have really enjoyed exiting the South and taking what we do to other regions and watching their reaction to it, because I have been surprised. I'm not a well-traveled man like a lot of people out there, so I don't know a lot about the rest of the world and their cultures and everything, regions. And when we've gone up north or to the east or even to the west, I have been amazed at what respect people have and what interest people have in the South. It's been beautiful. And I never thought it would be that way. I always thought it would be I always thought I'd run into a lot of prejudice against Southerners and people thinking you're slow and that kind of stuff. And it hadn't worked out that way. They've been very, very interested in what I do. It's been fabulous.
Do you get as many bookings outside of the South as you do here in the South?
Lord, no, I don't.
Okay.
But when I do, it's pretty special. We did 2 things in New York last year and 1 this year, and that was quite an experience. I was pretty scared to get up there, and then we had a stop in Pennsylvania too. I was pretty scared at how they were going to take what I said. I didn't know if anything I said would land. Everything I say and talk about is about the South, and all the songs I sing are Southern gospel and, you know, things that people in this region would know. And well, we did this little thing, and they just were so gracious, and they were so interested in it. And I found all sorts of similarities in between the two groups, Northerners and Southerners. This has been like the education of Sean Dietrich these past few years.
That could be a new book title. But you did mention just a few moments ago, Sean, how you have, with your work, you've seen a lot of the gospel songs of yesteryear work itself into your life, and you're using
Yes.
one of the most famous songs, the Carter family's original "Will the Circle Be Unbroken." That's the title of your new book. How did that come
Yes.
about?
Well, I knew what the title was going to be before I actually got down to write the book, because I loved the idea of this kind of almost riddle of a name. It's kind of a name that's open to interpretation, even though years later I've heard that it was originally supposed to mean "Will the family circle be unbroken," which is why we sing it at funerals. But that makes me love it even more. That's even more applicable. But to me, it's the only hymn that I could find in the hymnal with a question mark. And I love that, a hymn that has kind of an open end on the back that means we don't have it all figured out. So I liked that, because especially when it comes to religion, it seems like a lot of its evangelists and practitioners seem to pretend they have everything figured out. So I liked the fact that I could present something of a religious nature, at least in the title, because I don't consider myself a religious man, with a question mark on it. So that was kind of the initial seedlings for the idea. Plus, I deal with suicide in the book, and in my mind, you could replace the word circle with the word cycle and say, will that cycle be unbroken? Will anybody ever break the cycle? And of course, my hopeful answer is yes, somebody will.
And this book, and this song title specifically for this book, this song played at your father's funeral.
Yes, it was a particular favorite, and I learned how to sing it when I was just a kid. And it's one of those we did a little thing in Tennessee a few months ago, and one of the guys came through the book line and got me to, shake his hand and everything. And he said, "You know why I like this song?" And I said, "Why?" He said, because it's one of the only 2 songs that I know that have the word Undertaker in it, and I'm an Undertaker. And I said, well, what's the other one? He said, War. What is it good for? I thought, okay, that's a very bizarre correlation there. But so it's a song that deals with death. I like that about it. Sounds kind of bad.
And as we give Undertakers a little love here on today's Y'all Show, I'll ask you a trivia question. Are you up on country music?
Not modern country.
Okay.
I quit listening around 1978.
Okay, well, this singer I'm about to ask you a trivia question about, I think his biggest song came out around that same time. Do you know what
Okay.
country music artist and Grand Ole Opry member before becoming a big star was an Undertaker?
Before becoming a big star, was it? No, I don't know.
John Conley, Rose-Colored Glasses.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not.
Well, see, I mentioned him in the book.
Do you really? Yeah, he was an
Yes,
Undertaker.
I do.
He's from Kentucky, and that's what he did before hitting the big stage. And
Well, I'll be dog.
not
I
exactly.
love John Conley.
I love John Conley too, who's still performing, except not right now because he can't. But
Right.
he's still going. And I love a recent quote that I found of you that kind of sums up Sean of the South. That's who we're talking to, Sean Dietrich, Florida's own, and a wonderful Southerner who's out here showing the good Southern fight to the North and the South. And he's a writer, an author, a podcaster, BBQ Judge, which I'm going to ask you about that in just a second. So don't think we're letting that slide here with you, Sean. But I love this thing that I read about you, that your life is 98% questions and 2% cluelessness. That's a book right there.
I don't even remember saying that, but that sounds like something I'd say.
Yeah.
Further illustrating my clueless point.
Is that ratio still true, or has one of those moved up or down?
That's probably gone into more like 80% questions and 20% total absolute stupidity. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing with my life right now.
Well, you're doing something, and you're doing something well. You've got a major publisher behind your latest book, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? This book just came out earlier in March. Encourage everybody to go to Amazon.com or go to SeanOfTheSouthShow.com to find links of how you can get this. And congratulations on this. This is not your first book. I think I counted up. You've got about 10 or 11 books already in the can.
That's right. That's right. Like I said, I've got mental instability going on here. Just can't stop.
Well, can't stop. And I said, as in addition to writing, you're a heck of a performer. I've actually had a chance to listen to you as you gave a presentation before, talk about your background and such. And then the aspect that you can bring out the guitar and play a little music is always a good thing as well. Now, again, let's get back to this barbecue thing. How in the world does someone segue from all these things you're already currently doing to being a darn barbecue judge?
Well, there was a competition here in Pensacola, and a friend of mine said, would you like to be a judge? And I said, I have never done anything like that before. I love barbecue with a purple-headed passion. I would certainly be
Hold on a
doing
second. I'm Southern, and I've never heard that expression. A purple head passion?
Yeah, purple-headed passion.
Okay, that's a new one on me. Congratulations.
I hope it's clean. I don't know if it's got clean origins or not. I hope it's not dirty.
Yeah.
I went and I went through this little KC Masterpiece, training thing, and we did this competition. And come to find out, I had the most different tastes of any judge in our little group, which means I really don't know what I'm doing. But they got me to do a few more competitions and a few more. So I've done it enough to where I looked at the guys and said, can I put this on my byline? I said, this is all I want. I just want to be able to tell people I'm a competition barbecue judge. They said, okay, go ahead and do it. So it's there. The last time I did it was a year and a half ago. I wasn't able to do it this year because we were on the road, but I'll tell you, there's nothing better than going around sampling barbecue. It's a fun gig.
Now, Sean, I also want to point out you have the website SeanDietrich.com. What's the difference between the two websites, SeanDietrich.com and SeanOfTheSouthShow.com?
Oh, okay. The Sean of the South Show is our podcast, which we've been doing for 2 years, which is a mixture of studio and live performances. And the Sean of the South, or SeanDietrich.com, is just my daily column / blog / whatever you want to call it. It's been running for about 7 years. So they're a little different.
Okay. And everybody go there. What other social media plugs do you need to slip in here before we say goodbye to you, sir?
Hey, it doesn't matter. Someone can just punch in my name if they're interested, and if they're not, they can just forget they ever heard my voice.
I don't think that's going to happen, Sean Dietrich. We thank you for coming on again. The new book is called Will the Circle Be Unbroken, from Sean of the South, Sean Dietrich. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best, and maybe our paths will collide once again, sir.
I would really like that, John. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. Sean of the South, go check out this book. What else you got to do in these days where people are quarantined? You might as well catch up on all the many, many books Sean of the South has penned. More of the Y'all Show continues after this break.